What's going on, YouTube? To kick it off, I made this video because after 4 years of gardening, I feel I have some tips and tricks I want to share. But because there's so much gardening content on YouTube, I wanted to try to do it in a unique way. So I came up with the idea of merging two of my biggest hobbies, sports and, of course, gardening. And what resulted was this video simply titled, A Sports Fan's Guide to Gardening. I hope you enjoy. But first, if I can ask you like this video and subscribe to my channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. In the next few minutes, I'll be highlighting key sporting events, their key dates, and ultimately what you should be thinking about or doing to ensure a successful garden. And it recently occurred to me, no matter how big or small your garden is, to make it successful, it really is a year-long process. And as sports go year-round too, it's pretty amazing how you can tie major sporting events to key things you should be doing or considering about your garden. Let's check it out. A couple key points before we begin here. I am in growing zone 6A, which if you're a beginner gardener, I wouldn't really worry about your first year. And also, I'm highlighting US pro sports and college sports. So if you're an international viewer, I would love to see a comment on what sports you follow. So as January brings the new year, in my part of the world, it also brings cold, dark, and wintry weather conditions. Thankfully, January has a lot of things going on from a sports perspective that'll help get you through the winter. Both college and pro basketball are well underway, alongside pro hockey, which is my favorite sport. But let's be honest, as much as I love to see that puck drop, January is all about football. And as coaches try to get their game plan down to win the big game, you should be thinking about your garden plan for the year. First off, though, let's talk some key dates. The NHL Winter Classic is actually on a Monday night this year, January 2nd, with the NCAA Football National Championship the following week on January 9th. And by mid-January, we see the NFL football playoffs kick off on January 14th. And again, feel free to leave a comment if I'm leaving any key sports dates out of the equation here. So what do you do for your garden in January then? Ultimately, if you're a beginner, at this point in the year, just commit to having a garden this year. Break out some paper and write down what you're thinking. Do some general research. Find out key things you want to grow in your garden and how much space you have. Get your boots on and go in the yard and think about where you might put the garden. And I would definitely recommend you notice where the sun's hitting your yard, as a garden needs ample sunlight. And if you've been gardening a while and are just looking for some general tips, I would say look back at last growing season and write down the top 3 things you learned and try to capitalize them on this coming year. In addition, if there's any specialty plants or seeds that you'd like to order, I would get those ordered in January here. And finally, a small cost-saving tip. We have 3 young kids in the house, and with that comes a variety of food containers. This is like yogurt cups and applesauce containers. If you start saving these now, you'll have a cost-free way of starting your seeds in a couple months. If I had to give January a theme, it would definitely be garden planning, in which case February brings about garden prep. And as you can make the argument that January is all about football, well, really so is February because it's Super Bowl time. Overall, though, in February, we find college hoops starting to heat up for the big tournament in March. The NHL has their All-Star weekend in February 3rd and 4th. The NBA All-Star game is on February 19th. And the main event, yes, the Super Bowl, is February 12th this year. So from a gardening point of view, in February, you should be taking really the plan you made in January and starting to prep for it. If you're a first-time gardener at this point in time, you really should be finalizing what you're going to grow this coming season. If you want to try growing your plants from seed, February is the month to order these seeds. And I would recommend just searching online somewhere. I'll be making another video on where to buy seeds later in the year. On that same note, February is a good month to decide where am I going to be starting these seeds and to make sure you have the right materials to do so. This might just include cleaning off a spot next to a window, or if you want to get really technical, buying some grow lights, seed trays, and some type of growing medium. Again, remember my tip in January, this is a good time to start collecting food containers, such as yogurt cups, so that you don't have to spend even just a few bucks to buy a seed tray. Aside from the plants themselves, February is a good month to really determine what materials you need to make your garden. If you're a beginner, do you want to build a raised bed? And if you're a seasoned vet, do you want to expand your garden this year? Really, in my opinion, and as I'm an advocate for raised bed gardening, in February you need to decide, am I going to buy some type of garden kit or am I going to try building something myself? If you're going to order some type of kit, do it in February so it's here in time for spring. And be sure to measure before you buy, just so it fits how you want it to. And similarly, if you're going to build something custom, try to pencil out your design in February so come March you can start building it in your garage. In my opinion, March can be seen as another month of prep, but it's really where your planning in January and your prep in February really start to come together. And with March, football season is officially over and college hoops is on the main stage. March Madness kicks off and the NBA and NHL seasons continue to move forward. Now, my advice for March really depends if you're planning to grow things from seed, but let's check out some key sports dates first. Now, if you're a college basketball junkie, or even one that just checks in for March Madness, circle March 12th on your calendar. That's Selection Sunday. This is followed by the first 4 play-in games on March 14th and 15th, with the first and second rounds happening March 16th through 19th. Then the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games will be the weekend of the 23rd through 36th, and the national championship won't be crowned until early April. And really, as March Madness kicks off around mid-March, that's really the perfect time, in my opinion, to start planting your seeds indoors. Now, if you're a more experienced gardener, there's always the chance you start a little earlier, especially if you want to get a couple growing cycles out of certain plants. But again, mid-March has always treated me pretty well with starting seeds indoors. And now that you started your seeds this month, it's also time to design where these plants are going to live in your garden. What plants are going to be next to each other, making sure you have enough space, things of that matter. Again, as we have young kids, this is usually where I break out some paper and colored pencils and draw what my garden's going to look like this year. And one of my final thoughts for March is pick a Saturday that the tournament's going on, get a TV in your garage somehow, and build that garden box that you designed back in February. Or hopefully, if you ordered something online, it's there and you can construct it. Either way, you'll want to actually put the garden box in your garden by the end of March or have it ready to go by the end of March. And with that being said, thank you so much for checking out my video today. If I can ask you like it, check out my other content on my channel and subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated. I am planning to make a second part to the Sports Fan's Guide to Gardening, covering what to do in April, May, and June. And I also plan to upload a lot of content for what happens on my almost acre. But for now, why don't you check out this next video in the link above. Thanks again for checking in today.